Oh, it's hanging on there still. Now we're done.
Welcome to the live Q&A with Pragmatic Works. My name is Mitchell Pearson. We want to thank you for joining us for the 3-hour DAX session. I know that was a lot. Today I have with me Nick Lee. Nick I asked him to come along because he is our DAX expert, or one of them here at Pragmatic Works. He actually does a lot of one-on-one virtual mentoring with customers. What would you say is the favorite part of your job here?
Oh, and you know this answer. You know this is a leading question. Virtual mentoring is my absolute favorite. It's no secret. I tell everyone that. Yeah. It is a lot of fun. Get to experience so much and learn so much every day.
All right. And the screen here actually shows that we're still muted and the camera's off. That might be for some other thing. Maybe that's for yours. Ignore that. We're good. Ignore that. Completely wrong. That's for the person behind the screen. Theirs is muted. So actually mine is that as well. Mine is actually virtual mentoring as well. We both love that part of it. We love when customers come to us with problems and we knock them out. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to jump in and we're going to answer some questions here. So I think we're ready for the first question. All right, so I'll give you this first one, Nick. It says, are measures always calculated at runtime?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So in Power BI, once you open up Power BI, you open up Power BI report for the first time, all the measures that are currently used inside visuals are going to be calculated at that time. Then they don't need to run anymore until you change something on the visual, you add a field, you add a filter, anything along those lines, then it recalculates when it materializes in that way.
Absolutely. So this is actually really awesome, but also kind of dangerous. When we're creating measures, understanding that they're dynamic in Power BI, we want to create those measures in such a way that we think about what filters are currently being applied and what filters might be applied in the future. Because a lot of times you'll build a measure, you put the measure in there, and as soon as you get done with the measure, you change a filter and the results are completely different or they don't work at all. So that's a really, really good question. I think we're ready for the next question here. So what we got? So this may, following up on that, so this may slow down performance. What are your thoughts on that as far as measures and performance?
I mean, it could hypothetically slow down performance if you have a very unoptimized measure that does not work fantastic. Sure, it'll recalculate when you change a filter or anything like that. But otherwise, you shouldn't see anything notable for the most part.
Yeah, percentage-wise, the chance of a measure really affecting performance is very, very low. And when we do see that, it's usually generally some kind of modeling problem where we're having to do something really, really wild in the DAX calculation to overcome the model. Typically, Power BI, Lightning Fast, you're not going to see performance. All right. The camera's on. Why can't we use max along with related for the last order date? I think I can take this one. So in the session, we showed how to use X functions. I love X functions. They're my favorite functions in Power BI. And when you are using your basic aggregate functions like max, min, sum, etc., you can only use them on a column. But a lot of times what we have to do for customers when we're building out more advanced DAX calculations is we first have to take the table and we have to manipulate it in some way, change the filter context, filter it down. And so when we do that, you can no longer use max on top of that table expression that you built. So now we have to use the X function on top of it. So we use max X, sum X, min X, etc. But if you just want to sum up a column on a table, you're going to use sum X. If you want to get the maximum, you're going to you just use sum, or you just use max, unless you're doing some kind of table expression. All right, next question. Why would you, I kind of answered this. I'm gonna let you take this one. Why would you use sum versus sum X when writing DAX?
Yeah, so this is something that happens all the time. We get questions on this all the time. In virtual mentoring, Mitchell and I both use X functions all the time, like very, very common. But you don't use it just because. Yeah. You would use the sum function whenever you just want to sum up a value in a table, in one singular column. So same with max, min, whatever, just like Mitchell was just talking about. Whenever you use the X function, it means there's something a little bit more in-depth that goes into this calculation. So I have a quick little example I'm going to tell you. So when you want to sum up the total number of sales in a sales table, you just do sum of sales amount. Pretty straightforward. If you wanted to calculate, well, how much discount did we give for an individual item in a sales table? Well, and your sales table might have the total sales amount and then the price, the listed price of said item. So the difference of the discount would be sales amount minus the price of the item. That would give us how much difference there are in that calculation itself. So to sum up how much discount we've given across this entire table, we would do a SUMX over the sales table, and then we would just put the total sales amount minus the price. And then it would run that calculation to calculate the discount for every record in the table and then sum it up to give us our total discount amount.
Absolutely. Yeah. So multiple ways we could solve that, but that is a way that we could take advantage of X functions. All right, next question. How can you differentiate between columns and measures that you have created in your model? So this was a question by Neil, and this question was very simple. It was like, we're creating all these columns, we're creating all these measures in our model. I was actually on a virtual mentoring session with a customer yesterday. She had 1,027 measures in her model. That's a lot. So we did some pruning there. But if I have all these columns and measures, how can I find the ones that I've created that are columns and measures? Well, there is an icon that differentiates them. But if you don't know about this, there's actually a way to take your columns and your measures in your model and actually put them into display folders. And so we show that in the video. I think this question came before that one, so that's good. Next question. See how many we can knock out. All right, so this was actually, let me see if I have to add some context to this one. So for prior month, when you have a fiscal calendar and you're doing a prior month calculation, would you need to use the fiscal month instead of the month to go back one fiscal month? Tell me if there's an exception to this, but if your calendar is January 1st through January 31st, February 1st through February 28th, if that's a normal calendar and you just have the fiscal year ends at the end of June and starts July 1st or whatever, then no, you can just calculate whatever my measure is, date add minus 1 month. That's going to work fine. Where this would be more of an issue isn't really with fiscal month. It's where, and we have this with customers where their month doesn't start on January 1st. It starts on January 3rd. It starts on the first Sunday of every month. And
like
so
a 445 calendar, something like that.
Yeah, like some kind of custom calendar. And so then in those situations it changes. But if you're just doing fiscal calendar, yeah, that'll work fine. All right, so I'll give this one to you, Nick, once I read it. Is there a way to use Copilot in Power BI without incurring large cost?
Yeah, so that's a good question. This is a very open-ended, so to speak. But long story short, what you need to utilize Copilot in Power BI, especially for DAX-related items, this needs to be tied to a Fabric-enabled capacity. There's a couple ways to get a Fabric capacity enabled workspace, specifically a workspace you have to tie it to, not an entire tenant. But if you have a way to make that workspace Fabric capacity enabled, then you could use Copilot. And it's not extremely expensive to do that. There's multiple ways. It could be very cheap to very expensive. It could be as a per user basis. It could be company wide with a very small scale. It's a very open-ended question, but yes, there are plenty of ways to make it not expensive.
Yeah, and if you guys have questions, keep putting those questions in the live Q&A and we'll try to knock those out. Manuel did a video on our YouTube channel about how to switch over from the free Fabric workspace to a paid Fabric workspace. And in there, he shows you how to provision in Azure, just quickly provision a Fabric capacity and how to assign that to your workspace. And that's what you need. You need a Fabric assigned workspace in order to take advantage of Copilot. And the good news is that, you can get an F2 Fabric capacity for less than $1 an hour. And you can actually leverage that to start exploring these features. And then you can turn it off when you're not using it. I've been on VMs with customers recently. They're never turning off their Fabric capacity. Didn't realize they could. And they've been getting billed for that. And I'm like, wait, let's turn this off right now. You're not even using it. You're building a proof of concept. So that is a very practical use case right there. All right, next question. Is there a metadata table or object in Power BI or Power Query that can be used to reference all the objects in its workspace? All of the objects in the workspace. So I have an idea on this. Do you have an idea?
Yeah, so I believe it's the question is referring to the Power BI instance or the model itself.
Okay.
Not the entire workspace. That's what I believe it's talking about. In which case we could use, DAX Query View. That's one option to do it. But there's a new preview feature that's pretty awesome that Mitchell and I have both been toying with some. Still preview. It's not fully released yet. but there's a new preview feature called Tyndall View, TMDL. Don't know what it stands for, but everyone calls it Tyndall View.
Tabular model definition language.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But anyways, you could use the Tyndall View to effectively query your entire Power BI model. It'll query every measure, every column, every table, and even the source data, which looks at all of the mQuery that's used to import every table. And if you could query your entire semantic model, it will pull in literally absolutely everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that's not what they meant, if you do mean the workspace itself, your best option for that when you get into Fabric is really going to be leveraging Purview. And so within Purview, you can actually connect to Fabric and set it up. And then you can do a scan of your Fabric workspace and you can choose which one you want to do. And it will pull back all the objects and all the items in that Fabric workspace. And you can see it that way as well. All right, next question. Tom asked, how did you add that DAX view to the left navigation pane in Power BI Desktop? So is that still a preview feature, do you know?
No, that's GA now.
Okay.
So
that means, Tom, you're probably on an older version of Power BI Desktop and you need to upgrade to the latest version. But if you can't upgrade, if your company won't let you, you should be able to go into File, Options, and then go into Preview Features and enable the DAX Query View. All right, next question. How can we do bi-weekly sales? Do you want to tackle that or you want me to jump on it? What do you think? What do you think?
We can both do it. How about this? I'll say the first word, you say the second word. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if you want to do, so this is where it gets tricky, right? The better your data model, the easier these calculations are going to be. So if I were working with you on this, if you called us up and it was a one-on-one VM session, I would actually spend the first couple of minutes going to your date table and adding a column on your date table that would define biweekly. I assume biweekly here means, 2 weeks at a time, 2-week increments. And so I would number those and then I could build an expression that says, calculate the current biweekly, let's call it 57. And then you would do it in that way. And so in your table, you'd have year, and then you'd probably have, biweekly is weird because it's going to kind of be like week where it doesn't fall within a perfect month. So you can't really go year, month, biweekly. But if you want to do biweekly sales, then you want to have a column in your table, just like you would with week number. Week number says Monday through Sunday. Biweekly would be Monday through the next Sunday, and you have that aligned. So I'd build that probably back in the Power Query Editor or something like that. So if you have the model, the DAX is really easy. If not, it becomes significantly more difficult. So I'd spend the time to build the column. All right, next question. Is Fabric just the Microsoft cloud space? I'll definitely take this one since I do more on the Fabric side. So in a sense, yes. I love that question, right? So a lot of people are confused with Fabric today because they're like, oh, we want to learn about Azure. And like, oh, okay, we had all these things around Fabric. And they're like, no, we don't want Fabric, we want Azure. We're like, well, what Fabric is Microsoft took all of these awesome services that are tied to data and analytics, and they've combined them into this one resource called Fabric to help you with the decision-making process. What services should we use? How can we do our ETL? They've combined them all into this Fabric environment, this Fabric service, so that it removes a lot of that decision-making process. But now all of your data personas, your data scientists, your data engineers, your data analysts, just people that want to look at reports, all of them can come to that Fabric workspace and do their work. So data scientists can build their machine learning models there, and they can easily share that results with everybody. Data engineers can clean the data, prep it, prepare it for the data modelers, for the analyst, as well as for the data scientist. And so all those services that you've worked with within the Microsoft Azure cloud that you might have worked with individually, they've been tied to Fabric specifically. Yep, great question. All right, next question. I have a question, bro. He's talking to you.
Okay,
talking to you.
Obviously.
I used many-to-many relationship between two tables. I face issues with interacting with them. All right, you do a lot of VMs with a lot of customers.
Yep.
We see a lot of things. What are your thoughts on many-to-many relationships?
Yeah, I've actually had 2 virtual mentoring sessions this morning that had many-to-many relationships.
Okay.
So it's a very common thing that we talk about all the time. So the real thing is does it matter if they're there or not? Kind of. In the real world, sometimes we have to make things work. Sometimes we don't always have these beautiful one-to-many relationships absolutely everywhere. But these many-to-many relationships can cause issues because one of the main problems is first is performance. Second, we lose some technical jargon called table expansion. But really the big one is we can have what's called an ambiguous data model when we have bidirectional relationships that could conflict with other tables. Now, Zamir, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but Zamir, in your case, if you're having trouble interacting with them and you're having issues, it's not showing the correct data, you're having an issue with what's called data ambiguity, and it does and can happen. Not that it always will, but effectively what's happening is a table is getting filtered down from multiple sources and multiple routes simultaneously. That's what's happening when you have this many-to-many bidirectional relationship. So the best fix would be to resolve that. Come up with a way to make a dimension that is completely cardinal to make that one-to-many relationship. That's not always feasible. You can't always do that 100% of the time. But one thing you can do as a Band-Aid for now until you're able to fix that problem, let's say you're having production issues, you could actually go in and modify that relationship and make it to where the filter isn't bidirectional anymore. It doesn't go both directions. It goes from one side of the relationship to the other, filtering down, does not allow that bidirectional relationship, even though it's a many-to-many. And it does allow you to do that, and that very well may solve your many-to-many relationship issue.
Yeah, we do see this a lot, and ideally, if we can, the first thing we do is we try to get rid of it. We try to fix it. So a lot of times, if you come to us, the reason you have a many-to-many is you've probably brought in two fact tables, two business processes. One is sales, one is returns. And you're like, okay, I'm going to join these on product. Well, product shows up in both tables multiple times. And we fix that by simply creating a product dimension that has one row for every product. So if that's something that you continue to struggle with, you could go take a look at our YouTube video on how to data model, like data modeling. Probably we're going to give you some really good suggestions in there on exactly how to handle that. All right, I think we've kind of run out of questions here. We knocked out a lot of questions really quickly. One thing I want to mention is that if you have stayed with us this long, you definitely want to go back to the original YouTube video, drop your DAX problem, put this problem in there, Zamir, put it in there so we can talk about it. We'll see it. We're going to be giving away, at least for the next few months and maybe beyond that, one virtual mentoring session for free every month. We're going to be going into those comments, looking at the chat, looking at what people are posting, and choosing somebody to jump on the call with us for 1 hour. So that is an awesome opportunity. I'd love to meet you and see what that looks like. But now we're going to jump in and we're actually going to do a giveaway. So thank you for joining with us. We're going to be giving away 3 on-demand learning licenses. So we'll jump right in and we'll do that. And then Nick, if you want, you can announce the first one here. Let's see.
All right. The first on-demand winner is going to be John Lathbury.
John, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to John. Hopefully John is still in here. John, what you want to do is take a picture of that and take a picture of your profile where that was posted so we know it's you, because a lot of people want those on-demand licenses and 5 people are going to say their name is John. So make sure you take a picture of that and you send it in to our marketing team. And where are they sending that? They're going to be sending it to, is it marketing@pragmaticworks.com? Marketing@pragmaticworks.com. John, congratulations. All right, next up is... how do you pronounce that? I think that's like a nickname or something.
Pa Beater.
Pa Beater. That sounds good. That's a good one there. Pa Beater. All right, congratulations to Pa Beater. Yes. Pa Beater, same thing. Make sure that you take a picture and you send that to marketing@pragmaticworks.com. Congratulations on your on-demand learning license. That's 1 year of free access to over 200 classes on our on-demand learning. So everything you've seen here today and much, much, much more is going to be available to you. And we have one more giveaway to give away today, and that is going to be one. You got it.
All right. Donald Parrish, congratulations for your on-demand license.
Yes. Donald, you know the drill, right?
Yep.
Take a picture, send it to us, marketing@pragmaticworks.com. And then again, congratulations to everybody who was here. We do want to, we just want to say thank you for joining us. And again, if you are learning DAX and you want to learn more about DAX, there's no better way to do it than a full week immersive course. Join myself or join somebody on our team and take a DAX bootcamp with us here at Pragmatic Works. You can sign up for that on the Pragmatic Works channel. You can scan the QR code on the screen to take a look at the bootcamps available. And we also do a lot of sessions here at our brand new office in Jacksonville, Florida. So come join us. We'd love to meet you in person. And then also we have our Python for Data Analysis Bootcamp coming up with Zane. A lot of popularity there. I think those seats are selling pretty quickly, but feel free to sign up for that as well. You got anything here?
Yeah. So it was a Learn with the Nerds that's coming up for it.
Oh, well, we have a Python Bootcamp too. Take that. It's better. Good call. I don't read all the words, Nick.
I could tell.
All right. Well, hey, thank you guys. We appreciate it. Nick,
Thank you,
for joining
everybody.
me.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
It's
it.
been a lot of